Hey everybody, Ben here for the Bonehead podcast, and we've got a cool unbox and review for you today. Royal Mail, the British Postal Service, has had a disaster over the last month. They had strikes just before Christmas, and then they had a Russian cyber attack, which meant that basically all post is 1 to 2 weeks behind. And what that meant is it took us over 2 weeks to actually receive this from Forge World. So we've picked up Nobbla Blackwart and Scrappa Sorehead, the most recent Goblin star players that landed in the Almanac book. So we've got the Pogo Stick Goblin and the Chainsaw Goblin from Forge World. So we're going to open them up, have a look at the models, and see what's what. Okay, so the Forge World star player is actually a combination. You get both of these star players in the box. Now I'm saying box, it's obviously a plastic clamshell. So first things first, these are resin models. So when you get resin from Forge World, not 3D printed resin, but when you get resin from Forge World and stuff like that, you need to give it a bit of a clean. So lukewarm water, a dash of fairy washing up liquid, and just rinse the models off, give them a bit of a brush, make sure they're clear. Now there's a very good reason for this, and that is that if you don't do that, when you come to glue them and when you come to prime them, they're kind of a bit slippy because they have mold release in them, so things won't kind of stick to the models as well as you want them to. So I have already cut the back out of my guys and washed them up ready for this video. In fact, I think I opened it on a podcast when we were looking at it. Now these packets are sharp, so be careful, and you will need the paper out of them, which I probably shouldn't have waited for this to do, but there we go. So we can now get rid of that. Obviously recycle if you can. So you get a paper document here, and you got the standard stuff, right? You've got the picture of the models. Now the good thing that Forge World do, in fact all the Blood Bowl stuff at the moment, it's got the rules inside the packet. So you got rules for Scrappa Sorehead there, and you got rules for Nobbla Blackwart there. Do they look right? They look right. Now obviously these rules are available from the PDF download for free, so don't worry about the fact that this is just really paper flimsy cardboard. Now every time we look at a star player from Forge World, we have to consider one thing, which is how many pieces do they come in. Now there's only 9 pieces in this set, so as far as Forge World goes, that's not bad. I think the Snake Dude was 9 pieces as well, and this is 2 star players. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 pieces for the Chainsaw Goblin, and we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pieces for the Pogo Goblin. So that is a little bit better. I'm a bit worried about this, having that 1 point of contact for your Pogo Goblin to join the base is potentially a bit risky. So let's have a look at the models as they come on the sprues. Now I'm going to call them sprues. They're realistically, they're jersey barriers. They are just this massive chunk of resin with models on top of. So now does it come mixed up? That feels like that broke. That did just break. That literally just broke. But oh no. All right. It hasn't actually broken from a point of view of having nothing's broken to the extent that it's going to hurt the model. But what we can see is, if I can hopefully get this on the camera, you can see this bit here where the bottom of the pogo joins the bouncy bit of the pogo, which is here, which is the element that goes to the base. You're going to need to sand that down, and not necessarily sand that down. What we'll do is we'll use our clippers and we'll kind of scrap away at the resin to give us a bit more of a glue area. A bit more of a glue contact area. However, now we can see that's a bit bright, isn't it? Let's turn that down ever so slightly. We can see models, they're Forge World. Now, for all the fact that they like to cast them in a billion pieces, the casting is really good. The quality is really good, and you can see there. Have we got much in the way of mold lines? It doesn't really look like it, which is really nice to see. So we're going to start off with the chainsaw piece. So we'll come back to Mr. Pogo and his various pieces there. You got the main body of the Chainsaw Goblin with bits attached to it. Not too bad. You've got his head there, and you see you've got quite a bit of flash to get away as well. You've got the chainsaw top there as we look at the instructions, which means there's one piece of his body missing, which is an alternative arm. Here we go, his left arm there, which is not too bad when it comes to getting it off the sprue. Now, I mean, it's Games Workshop resin, so it's reasonably soft. I'm impressed to see that these have kind of already come away from the sprue. Now, what you're normally likely to do is use clippers to kind of clip it off. That is what clippers do, Ben. But when you prep your resin, when you turn it, twist it off, you'll end up with a little bit of a flat area there. Now, a better modeler than I is going to want to dry fit this and then use green stuff to kind of plug any gaps and then to file away to make sure there's the smoothest possible connection point. I won't be doing any of that. In fact, we'll start this right now. What I'm going to do is just kind of experiment with the model. Now, is that flash? That is flash on the bottom of the chainsaw there. There we go. And I think you might be able to, yeah, you can just kind of like clip them off, which is really good. Now, you see we've got these kind of white bits here. That's going to protrude out. So you need to use your clippers or a flat of a knife blade and just kind of wear it away to make it as flat as possible. So that's not too bad. Let's see if we can do the same with the head. That's good. We can get rid of that Jersey barrier. And you see you got a little bit of flash here on the face. You want to be really careful with these resin models because it's soft resin. Okay, it's not bad. This is coming really quite nice. This actually feels a lot softer than normal, but it allows you to kind of, if you use your pincers here, it's gonna squish the resin rather than clip it, which is gonna make it a little bit easier, a little bit safer. There we go. So we can take all the stuff off, and that's going to leave us with our 4 pieces of Goblin. So this guy actually doesn't look too bad. His face and arm are one piece there. Looks like there's a bit of flash in the middle there to kind of take away. Is that right? Maybe, maybe. Don't know. Not too fussed about that. The mounting points look pretty good though, which is nice. Is you've got this little bubble there, which is going to marry up to the bubble in his head. And his arm is going to marry up there. So we're going to be able to kind of build him really nicely. Okay, when it comes to the chainsaw piece, which arm does this go on? So this is going to go onto... Wow, the instructions on this one are not brilliant, are they? Right, so the chainsaw piece goes like this onto the top of this part here. So we've got to assume that there's going to be some kind of plug. There is. Okay, we've got these 2 little divots, and those 2 little divots are going to go into that. So it's not a massive contact point, but it's not bad at all. Okay, so that's good. That's the chainsaw goblin. Looking pretty reasonable. We'll glue that up in a second. Now, even though I've washed these, the bottom is a bit shiny and a bit slippery, where there's still a bit of release agent. So that's quite interesting. So you have to be very careful with that. Right, so the Pogo Goblin, we've got the dodgy base piece. And this dodgy base piece here is going to connect to this bit here. Now, we've got this. This is supposed to be a nub. Okay, so this is a peg that's going to go in the hole on the base here to kind of make sure that it glues as well as possible. So, like I said, with resin, it's soft. You can kind of squidge it around a little bit. You can kind of wear it down by making, by wiggling it and kind of rubbing one piece on another to kind of get a solid fit. I was a bit worried about the contact point there, but actually I don't think that's going to be too bad at all. Got a bit of flash on the leg here. Let's do the... Yeah, look, see? This is really interesting. This resin feels really quite soft. In that I'm able to just kind of blitz it apart with my hand. Now, you want to use clippers wherever possible because it stops putting strain on the rest of the model. I'm just kind of intrigued now as to how much I can kind of fandangle with my fingers on this. Because, you know me, love a bit of alliteration and a bit of laziness. There we go. So actually, it comes off when you tear the resin off like that, or even when you clip it, you're going to end up with bits that you're going to want to sand down so you can use the back of your blade, use your clippers, use a file if you came prepared like I did. Sort of, but not really. Okay, so that's not too bad. So we've got that piece, and we know that it's going to go into the base there as well. I am not massively concerned about the rest of this, he says, and then I've realised that we've got a little peg hole in the top here for the skull to go into. So again, we'll take that off the sprue. There's a bit of flash on the front of the face there, which is good. That flash on the front allows them to kind of mount it on the join peg, which is pretty good because this is a small model. There you go. That's actually going to be pretty reasonable when it comes to us gluing that. So I'm not too worried about that. Happy with that. And the arm and the head there look pretty reasonable as well. And then you've got this one. basing piece that is actually well adjoined to the jersey barrier sprue, so we can get rid of that, clip that down, make it nice and flat. The models come with two 32mm bases. They are slotter bases, which is a bit of a nuisance, but I mean, they're kind of used to it by now. So we're going to have the flat bit, we're going to have the body, we're going to have the skull face, the jester head to the top of his pogo stick. I love the design aesthetic for this model. Like, as a star player, he's very cool, and he's kind of been around for a long time, and he's kind of been ubiquitous when it comes to like goblins, and in fact ogres kind of used to take him quite a lot as well. Yeah, you're probably going to want to clear that up and trim that up a bit, but I think we're able to take them out, so let's grab the glue and get building. Okay, so we've built our Goblin star players, and it really wasn't that bad at all. So 9 pieces between the two of them, and actually they've done a really good job of putting keys and pegs and everything, so that actually it lines up quite nicely. The left arm on the pogoer feels a little loosey-goosey, but actually it's not too bad. I was a bit worried about him gluing his head on. There was a couple of bits of flash on the joins that I hadn't cleaned away, and there's a bit of flash there just underneath his shoulder pad that I should probably take care of. But I mean, with any kind of model, you've got flash and mold lines and things like that, and actually there's not too much in the way of mold lines with these models. It's a really nice cast. So the models are great, their quality is great, they glue together just fine, so no concerns with that. Obviously what we have to do is a bit of a size comparison. So what we've got is, we've got my buddy Grot Brady here. So he's our strength 2 goblin positional player, star player if you will, who we kind of use to match up size wise. I guess one thing I didn't mention is resin models. You've got to use super glue, and as we covered in the top 5 Christmas gifts for gamers, cheap Poundland super glue will do the job just fine. But with some of the trickier resin kits, you might want to get some super glue activator. You can get it from Amazon. Anyway, size wise, we've got a strength 2 goblin here. This is from the Blackwart team, and we've got a strength 2 goblin here with a chainsaw. So this is the fun bit. This is what I like doing about the star players. On the downside, this model has got a single foot that will go on the ground. On the plus side, it is a pretty decent coverage area, so that's not too bad. So size wise, he sizes up nicely to Grot Brady. Height wise is about the same, if not a little bit bigger potentially, so kind of gets a pass from that. I mean, it's a really good model. The sculpting's wonderful, and size wise he's got all the girth you'd expect from a goblin, so he's good to go. We've got Scrappa Sorehead here. Now Scrappa obviously is a pogo stick. This bottom piece has got a single peg. There's no kind of key, so you will be able to mount that pogo bit at a jaunty angle if you desire, or you can rotate him around. And the same for the jester head. I think I've got the jester head on a bit squiffy, but that doesn't massively matter. Right, strength 2 piece. So mass wise from a goblin, this is why I haven't based them yet, is 1, because I don't want to base them on a slotter base, because then I have to go back and fill the slotter in. But secondly, so we can line them up to a goblin here, so we can kind of see size. Yeah, you know what, head, body is brilliant and matches up really nicely to the goblin. And when he's got that pogo stick mounted on the base, which again, even though I was a bit concerned about this center join, it's got a peg, it's got a reasonable bit of super glue coverage. I'm not too bad. You can even pin it if you want to, but he's quite a light model, so I don't think you're going to have too much stress on it. And once it's mounted on a base, it's got a big old flat area for some super glue, so it's going to get a good join on the base, and it's going to be plenty high enough. So like that. So sculpting is good, casting is good, sizing is good. There's one more thing I want to look at, and that is to compare the Forge World Nobbla and Scrappa to the Brute Fun version. So before these models were released, Brute Fun provided some star player models. We've seen Ripper, awesome model, and he did the Goblin star players. Now these are available as 3D prints from our site, or you can get the STL straight from Brute Fun on his My Mini Factory. And I thought it'd be worthwhile just checking out the size. Now this is printed at 100% scale, and the kind of sculpting on the two different star players. Now, I think I've zoomed in all I can without losing focus on these models, but I thought it would be worth showing off. So Brute Fun has got a bit of a size improvement. So it's a bit bigger on this one. You've got all the details. And, I mean, it's a very similar Goblin, right? You've got the Goblin, doesn't have the hat, but he does have the Jester pole. You've got the pogo stick element to it. And you've just got all those goblin-y details. So if you don't want to go the Forge World route, then there is a really good alternative in the Brute Fun version. And I took this out of the bag, and I think there was a couple of little bits of supports that just flicked off, and I didn't have to build it, which was much better. So an interesting one to see. We've got the Brute Fun one, and we've got the Forge World one. Size-wise, a bit bigger, but it's horses for courses, really. Now, the other one we've got is the Goblin Chainsaw. Here we go. So I unabashedly love this model from Brute Fun, but size-wise, it's a lot bigger than the Forge World Goblin. When it, when it lines up to standard Goblin, it's really fine. He's a big old boy, but he's a star player. It's not massive, and certainly when you put him next to a strength 4 piece, he looks his appropriate stature, as does the Forge World one. But again, I wanted to compare because it's just, the Forge World one, 25.50. This guy, I don't know, a lot less than 25.50. Even with, well, postage is bad everywhere at the moment anyway. So this guy will mount on the base, and this guy mounts on the base. You've got the similar kind of helmet, different kind of chainsaw, but I think overall a really good alternative. Okay, so like I said, these models are available from Forge World at the moment. Now, those two Goblin Star players on Forge World are £25.50 plus postage, which is going to be sort of £4, £5, maybe £6. I'm not sure how much it is to send it abroad. So it's going to set you back nearly 30 quid for these two Goblins. Now, the models, they're brilliant, and the paint jobs they've got on the Forge World website are superb. It captures all of the character of the Goblin Star players, and they are absolutely spot on. The portrayals of what they are, like they're Scrappa, they're Nobbla. He's got the distinctive hat, he's got the Jester's pole. It just really works. So they are available from Forge World. They're great little sculpts, they're great little models. If you want to get something that's Games Workshop official, then these are some of the better star players they've done. If you're going to go play at a Games Workshop tournament, like we're going up to Warhammer World in a few weeks' time, then if you need star players, then these are excellent star players. If you're not a massive Games Workshop aficionado, like I said, the Brute Fun alternatives are pretty good. We've got them on our site. All 4 of the Goblin stars, so Bomber, Ball and Chain, Chainsaw, and Pogo are £15 from our site, 3D printed. So, or they're £5 each. So you've got an alternative. If you don't want to go the massive Forge World route, then actually there is an alternative. But the Forge World models are really good as well. So you can't lose here. If you need a star player with a chainsaw, if you need a star player with a pogo, doesn't matter where you go, there's great sculpts available for each of the price points, and that's just absolutely awesome. More star player access is more better. I don't know about that, but more Blood Bowl minis is definitely more better. Anyway, I'm going to wrap up. Thank you very much for watching. Let me know what you think of the Forge World models for these guys, and we'll be back soon with more Blood Bowl content. Happy chainsawing. Thanks very much for watching. We really appreciate your support. If you want to support the channel even further, please like and subscribe. It really does help us out. Or come join us on YouTube members or in Patreon, where you can get exclusive access to some content, some loot, early access to basically everything we do, as well as regular competitions. Or you can pick up some Bonehead Podcast loot either on our website at boneheadpodcast.com. We've got the Dungeon Bowl things, we've got tokens and stuff like that, or on our Spreadshirt site as well. Everything you do just helps us make more content and hopefully do it of better quality. Anyway, thank you very much for watching. Happy blocking.